Hi, it's Carrie, and I am back with another book review. I recently commented on a booktuber's video recommending this series that I really liked by Darynda Jones, and I realized that it was silly for me to recommend it because I don't even have a review of it on my page. So why am I recommending things that people can't go and see what they're even about? So I'm going to do a quick review. I can't actually review many of the books because there are so many things that happen in each story that if you jump in about 5 books in, there's a whole bunch of good plot twists that are going to be spoiled. So I'm going to try to review what I can, but it is the Darynda Jones Charley Davidson series. This is books 1 through 11. Book 12 will be released in either October or November. I don't remember. And I noticed in my review of Stephen King's It that every time I drop something heavily on my table, it makes a noise. I do have to invest in another microphone. I know about that. So sorry. I'm going to try to be quiet this video. The first book in the series is called First Grave on the Right. I don't know what the coloring is going to look like. It's all white, so it's going to look weird. It's by Darynda Jones. And it is about a woman who is the Grim Reaper. She has been the Grim Reaper since the day she was born. She can understand every single language that has ever been spoken or written, and she has memories from her very first moment of birth. She remembers every single thing. It's just part of her skill, I guess. And the story follows her. Her uncle is a police detective. Her dad was also a police detective. He's now retired. But she's very close with her uncle, and she helps out on cases because she can see dead people. I'm going to read the back of the book just so you get a general idea, because I don't know if I'm really describing it nicely. Her name is Charley Davidson. He. You can get the joke there. Charley Davidson is a part-time private investigator and full-time Grim Reaper, meaning she sees dead people, really. And it's her job to convince them to go into the light. That's in quotes. But when these very dead people have died under less than ideal circumstances, like murder, sometimes they want Charley to bring the bad guys to justice. Complicating matters are the intensely hot dreams she's been having about an entity who has been following her all her life. And it turns out he might not be dead after all. In fact, he might be something else entirely. But what does he want with Charley? And why can't she seem to resist him? And what does she have to lose by giving in? So this book, it does have a mystery. It's your typical cozy mystery. That's where you will find this in the bookstore. You'll find it in with the cozy mysteries. I would say it's a stretch to call it a cozy mystery because those tend to be more family friendly, I would say, aside from the murder fact. They tend to be written a little less intense. These books can be quite intense in terms of depictions of torture and murder and blood and guts, and in terms of the sex scenes between her and her honey. It is a very funny read. It's a very funny story. Like, you could just go into your bookstore, go into your local Barnes & Noble or wherever you might find this, just pick it up, just read the first few pages of chapter 1, and you'll get a very clear idea of the style of writing and the humor and the snark. Oh my gosh, there is so much snark in this series. If you don't know what that means, I'd just look it up. But honestly, there's jokes, there's humor, there's comedy, it's just all of this really fun stuff to read. It is really awesome. And it's such a neat idea. I feel like Darynda Jones really fleshed it out. She had this great idea, and she turned it into a really great series. Honestly, I fly through these every time one comes out. And I've started rereading them on audiobook version. So the first 7 I have in paperback copy. That's how I got them. I don't know when exactly I started reading them, what book she was writing at the time. But the first 7 I have in paperback. I think that's how they were originally released, mass market paperback. And then 8, 9, 10, and 11 were all released in hardback. They have very beautiful covers. I mean, just very eye-catching. And you'll notice that the names of them actually have the order of the book in the title. Thank you, Darynda Jones, because most cozy mystery authors don't do that. They will just write and write and write and write, and theoretically you could pick up a book in the middle of the series and just have no problem figuring out what's going on, because they do a good job of like reintroducing characters and explaining kind of what's going on with them. So they don't typically number their books, but she does number her books, because it's very important to know if you're going to think about picking up this series, it would be best to read it in order, because like I said, there are a lot of plot twists, a lot of character development, a lot of new things happening, a lot of new mysteries are solved, questions are answered, and if you jump in at book 8, all of those, like a bunch of those really fun plot twists are going to be done already. So that would be my recommendation. Start with book 1. It is a great start to a great series. And honestly, the love interest in this book, it's like Damon from the Vampire Diaries, Edward from Twilight, although way amped up on Edward. He's more like Damon in terms of the bad boy. He is just incredibly sexy and just like dripping with sexuality and just this carnal energy. He's got all these tattoos and muscles, and she describes him very well in each and every book. And honestly, when I first started reading these books, I got kind of annoyed with the main character. She is the Grim Reaper. She knows it. She gets herself into a lot of trouble, a lot of dangerous situations, and she's often like, well, it wasn't my fault. They did this. And she can be a bit immature. And for a while, I could not figure out why the main guy, the main love interest, why he's even attracted to her. But after a while, you get it. I mean, I love each and every book. I couldn't tell you what actually happens in each and every book. I'd have to go back and like read each of the synopsis. But yeah, so the first book, First Grave on the right. The second book is Second Grave on the left. So they put right in the title what book you're reading, so you'll know if you've got the first one or not. And yeah, I would also recommend, maybe if you're not into the paper copies, go ahead and look at the audiobooks. I've listened to the first 6. The first 6 books in the audiobook versions, and the lady who does them does a very good job. I mean, I have no issues with how she inflects the tone and how she says the different things that Charley says, or her best friend Cookie, who I just love. I love Cookie. Cookie as a character. And I don't really want to say much about what the different stories are. One thing I will say, you get so focused on Charley and her love interest. His name is Reyes. I always called him Reyes when I read it, like rays of sun, but apparently it's Reyes, like you put emphasis on that second E. Okay. I got so focused on their love story that I had a hard time following each of the mysteries in these books, because each cozy mystery is supposed to have some sort of like detective. We're trying to solve the mystery. We're trying to, solve this case. Usually she pairs up with the local police because her uncle's a detective. And I had a hard time in the first few books just following the detective story, following the mystery, because the characters were mentioned once, and then you'd go to a section that had Charley and Reyes, and you're looking at their past, figuring out what's going on with them, and then you jump back to the mystery, and the name is brought up again, and I'm just like, I don't know who that is. How does this person attach to this story again? I don't remember. So for the first few books, that was really tough for me. I've had to go back, even in the audiobooks, the very first book, I think I had to listen to it twice, and I'd already read the book twice before I could finally, like, okay, that's right, that's where that's going. Because the Charley and Reyes love interest story, their whole history, their arc, it tends to overshadow the mystery itself. So I would just keep that in mind as well if you're looking at picking this series up. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Now that I'm 11 books into it, and I didn't even realize this when I bought book 11. It's called 11th Grave in Moonlight. It says right here, signed first edition. And I saw it on Amazon that it was going to be available, that it was published finally. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go buy this. And I went to Barnes & Noble, and this was the first copy that I laid eyes on the shelf, picked it up, bought it, brought it home, and what do you know? It's signed by the author. Ha! None of the other ones are signed, but I just thought that was really cool. So yeah, I would definitely recommend these. I eat these up like candy whenever she writes them, and she just keeps writing. That's one good thing if you want to get into a cozy mystery series. They don't stop writing. I mean, I have one series that I can think of that has actually come to a conclusion. It ended after 10 books, and it came to a very final stop. She said, I'm done writing the series, but she continues to write with her secondary series, which is on like book 15, I think she's finishing up right now, which is so great. So yeah, if you ever want to get into cozy mysteries, honestly, those authors just write. They just don't even stop to breathe. I don't even know how they do it. I would definitely recommend this series by Darynda Jones. You can find these all at Barnes & Noble. That's where I got most of mine. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you enjoy this review. Bye!